everyone, welcome to this week's webinar. I've got the lovely Kim from KLORIS here with me. That was a bit of a tongue tie there, I'm afraid.
Good one to get started.
She's joining me today as one of the founders of KLORIS to give us more information around CBD and how we can bring the treatments into spa. Kim, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's great. I love the brand. I've been using the products myself, so it's time we spread the love. I think it would be good because not everyone necessarily knows about KLORIS. I'd love to start by asking the question, what made you start a CBD brand?
Yeah, great way to start. So around 6 years ago, I was trying to find natural solutions to a few ongoing health issues I had, particularly in the realms of sleep and stress and pain. And who then became my lovely KLORIS co-founders, Matt and Pedram, were also having similar personal health searches and journeys, but for slightly different things. So Matt was trying to help his dad with chronic pain and also had some injuries, sort of post-training injuries himself. Pedram was actually trying to find natural remedies for areas more in the realms of mental health, particularly PTSD and ADHD. And we're all old friends. Pedram's actually my partner, and we were all sitting around talking one day, and we got onto the topic of CBD. Have you tried it? How do you feel about it? What do you know about it? And we were all actually quite enthused at this topic because we all had many opinions and a lot to say, and we all basically loved this compound. And what we couldn't, in these very, very early days when it was just literally a dinner talking point amongst friends, we couldn't actually we didn't have the knowledge, we didn't understand what made a good product, a bad product, how you could find regular supply of reputable brands of these things, because obviously that time 6 years ago CBD was very, very new to the UK. It had only just been, the over-the-counter brands had only just kind of been allowed to be legally sold, so it was really, really in its infancy. And then to add into that sort of setting of the scene, Pedram's brother is an incredible plant scientist. He has been posted around the world at some of the most respected labs, Cambridge University, Massachusetts, University of Massachusetts, and he's incredible. He's got 25 years plant science expertise behind him. Wow. So we basically badgered him for every possible bit of knowledge and information he had, and we became real like plant science nerds and sort of became obsessed with this. As I say, I was getting wonderful results using CBD, particularly for sleep and stress. Pedram was enjoying it to help with his focus around his ADHD and for his PTSD. And Matt and his father were really enjoying using topicals in particular for their aches and pains and injuries. And then we really realised that not only was there not anything available at the time that was effective, British made, aspirational and beautiful in how it looked. Everything at the time we were buying online was like white plastic bottles with like bright green cannabis leaves on, and very, very little information on the packaging, and there was no education around it. And you know, you're trying to go on these websites to buy stuff, and there was no frequently asked questions to find and be answered. And so we were like, not only do we love this and we're obsessed with it, and there's definitely a gap, we also have access to these amazing plant science brains. And so we just thought, we have to do something around this, and that is how KLORIS was born. And KLORIS, the name comes from Greek mythology, so she's the Greek goddess of plants and flowers and new beginnings and spring and new growth, and she kind of encompasses all of that in Greek mythology. So we thought, there's the name. And here we are.
I love that it started from a dinner conversation. Can you imagine how many people have those conversations and it doesn't go anywhere? You just have a random, but actually to take it and be like, right, we're going to get onto this. We've got another person who knows about plants, and you've created KLORIS from a dinner conversation. I think that's incredible.
It was the literal cliche of like, we were putting ideas on napkins. And we still have them. We have all these original drawings from you just literally using like a big biro. Like, we have all of that. And
oh my God, I love that. I love that you've kept the napkin.
Yeah, we have all, and this like really old, what is now very tatty and dog-eared notebook that was like this big, was all we had to hand. And yeah.
I love it. And I think, and like, just to touch on what you were saying, I know that I've had friends who've been using CBD for many, many years as well. And I think there's always, and particularly even with now the massive supplement market, people just are never sure where to go to get good
Absolutely.
quality supplements or things like CBD, because there's so many people selling things online, and actually understanding what the source of that ingredient is, the strength of what you're taking, the benefits. Do
Yeah,
you want to, like you say, an oil, or you said the balms for Matt's dad and himself, like actually getting it in the right form for the right reason. I think it's just a really complicated market, and actually translating it into things that I can understand or other people can understand just brings it to make it more accessible. Why should people not be able to understand how CBD works? How should people should be able to access it for sleep or ADHD, rather than it being this confusing product that people don't really understand. Um,
absolutely. And I think it's sort of a bit of its own, a victim of its own success because it became so popular so quickly. Any product, before it becomes into the mainstream and it has that kind of trend moment, gets a kind of a rush to the market of maybe substandard products or just a bunch of products that aren't actually from a proper brand, but they're just white labeled off the shelf somewhere with the label stuck on. And so it's taken a bit of time, but actually I think when we first started, I think there were like 300 brands in the UK, and I think there's like maybe 10 now or something crazy. But a lot of those brands weren't actually brands, they were just white labeled identikit products made I don't know
right.
where. So it has matured a lot, and I think for the better. But the education side is certainly something that is ongoing, as you know, year on year, more and more people use CBD for health and wellness, and for that kind of over the counter alternative to daily pharmaceuticals. And so the education side of it never really stops. It's sort of a lot of going over the basics, and but I think that's at this stage is still super useful,
Yeah, and
on the
it's
whole.
embed it into people so it becomes more mainstream and people understand it. And I mean, I guess lots of people will be wondering, how does CBD work? Is it safe? Things like, can I drive when I've got a patch on? Those sort of things, because people still link it so much to the other part of the plant that I
Yes.
think people have these questions. So I'll hand over to you to explain all
Yeah.
of this.
So how it works, well, in a moment we'll pop the presentation up and we'll go through all of that. But to answer your question about driving, that's a really good one. So that isn't in the presentation, so I'll just answer that. Yes, you absolutely can. So we actually have there is a huge portion of people that use CBD actually for focus, whether that's sports, public speaking, work performance, and I'll get into how that works when we pull the little presentation up. But it's because CBD products, and certainly our products, are certified THC free. So that means it does not have the intoxicating compound in it. So it just does not interact with the receptors in your brain in the same way. So you could drink gallons of the stuff, and it would not in any way. Not that I would advise that, but it is in no way intoxicating. And the
You're not going to
reason
get high, are you? You're not going to get high
no.
if you drink it. Yeah.
Absolutely not. If you have a product that contains THC, then you will feel that high that is traditionally known with cannabis. But our products are certified THC free, so that element is completely removed. CBD and the other broad spectrum of cannabinoids are retained to get a well-rounded holistic product. So yeah, that concern is absolutely not there. And in fact, people have it before driving tests because it helps sort of calm the nerves and just kind of get them back to balance. So yes, there's to answer that one. It's absolutely fine.
I could have done with it, just to digress, I could have done with it with my driving test, because it took me 5 times to pass, because I
Oh
got
no.
a shaky leg.
Yeah, and so you're like the clutch controls all gone.
I needed you. Where were you 10, 15 years ago?
We weren't allowed to sell in England, unfortunately. Yeah.
Would you like me to bring up the PowerPoint that you
Yeah,
shared? Yep, shall I do that now? But
absolutely.
yeah, no, I could have done with that. I was one of those drivers.
Oh, I know. Well, it is very nerve-wracking. I think actually just allowing them to learn on automatics maybe, but then I guess people can only drive automatics after
Yeah.
that, can't they? Anyway, moving on from the driving. So this is a really brief presentation, specifically to answer the absolute sort of entry-level basics about CBD, and particularly where the spa industry and that's the trade side of things intersects, and a little bit about what we offer as a brand within the intersection of CBD and spa. So it's quite specific. It is quite, as I say, it's quite a top line. But if anyone would like, we have more in-depth presentations and documents. And if anyone has any interest in wanting to do any further reading or to speak to me after, then they could certainly reach out either to you or me. And I'm happy to share various documents and presentations we have that's particularly in relation to CBD for spa. So this is us. I actually just went through our story, but just so you can see a picture of the guys, there's Matt and Pedram there. We do look slightly younger there. That's before the stress of running your own business for 6 years, but there we are.
Oh, don't be so unkind. You look great.
Right, so the 4 reasons, we can scroll down. So, go back up. Sorry, this is because I couldn't share the document, so we did. Perfect. So, the National Centre of Biological Information has done some brilliant studies on the main reasons as to why people use CBD, particularly the over-the-counter wellness-based products, as opposed to the medicinally prescribed high-strength products that are often a THC ratio. So that's a kind of a different world. But sleep problems, stress and anxiety, and general health and well-being overwhelmingly make up the most part as to why people use CBD. There's one sort of interesting caveat there, and that is under the general health and well-being section, pain management, daily ongoing pain management sits within that. However, if the user is slightly older, that those stats change ever so slightly, and it's actually around half of the kind of 60 plus age range that are using CBD are actually using it for chronic pain. Wow. Everyone else, it's sort of a roughly even split of like a quarter use it for sleep issues, a quarter use it for anxiety, a quarter use it for stress. And I know people may be thinking, stress and anxiety, is that not the same thing? Well, interestingly, no. When people were reporting on how they felt, people have overwhelmingly put self-perceived anxiety and stress into different boxes, which I think when you dissect it, I can kind of understand that as well. I feel like stress is something that we are just conditioned in to live with on our every single day of our lives, and then anxiety is perhaps something that's feels slightly more serious or overwhelming. And then, as I say, finally, for the general health and well-being.
And actually, few of those cross over anyway, don't they? Like if you're in pain and you're having sleep problems, you probably fall into several anyway, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And it does all have a knock-on effect. And if you've had a bad night's sleep, you feel more stressed the next day, or you feel more overwhelmed when trying to cope with things. So this is really kind of a bit of a North Star for us in terms of our treatments for spa and our product ranges. We link everything back to these key kind of core wellness reasons and goals, which leads us on to our focus areas, which neatly tie in. So obviously pain and recovery, better sleep, mental well-being, so mood support and stress support, increasingly menopause. We only have a couple of products specifically targeted towards menopause, but there's so much wonderful feedback now to show how using CBD and other complementary plant-based compounds that are, for example, in our menopause patches, are really, really helpful for the most kind of commonly reported unwanted side effects or symptoms of menopause. So temperature regulation, mood support, and sleep support, certainly. Yeah. And then the rest of our range, so for example, our drops, or CBD drops in general, not just us, but in general, are so versatile that they actually can help with all of these different things. And I'm going to explain how they work now. Soothing skincare. The only reason why that is on there, we are not a skincare brand at all. We're often paired really beautifully with high-end skincare brands because we focus on the mind and the body. But we have one incredible face oil that just becomes part of our massage in our protocols, which is a very anti-redness and collagen boosting face oil. So that's the only reason why that's in there. But yeah, we're not a skincare brand. Science behind how CBD works here is kind of threefold. So the first part lies in the body's endocannabinoid system, which is a neurotransmitter network all over our body. It comprises of CB1 and CB2 receptors. And this little diagram here shows the positioning and the placing of all the receptors across our body. Whether you have male or female anatomy, it's the same locations. And broadly speaking, the CB1 receptors are located in the brain, the nervous system, and the CB2 receptors are located in your immune system and the peripheral tissues, spleen, bones, bone marrow, the gastrointestinal tract, and so on. So as you can see by all of these kind of dots dotted around, it's everywhere. This endocannabinoid system is vast and broad, and it really helps to balance the optimum functioning of all of our vital systems. So immune system, digestive system, as I say, it's in our brain, it's in all of our organs, it's in our skin. The receptors are just beneath the skin cells, which is why also while topical application is so great. And what it works to, so the point of the body's endocannabinoid system is to maintain the optimum functioning of your body, your circadian rhythm, your perception of pleasure and pain. It really interacts with absolutely everything. And so so it makes sense that a well-nourished endocannabinoid system helps all of your vital systems and function to work at their optimum, at their best. Historically, we had sort of more of a plethora of nutrients to, just things that worked to enhance our endocannabinoid system. We used hemp a lot more. We had a broader spectrum of plants in our diet. Now there's the stats that are sort of famously thrown around that we have a very small amount of grains and plants available. Everyone eats like the same 6 things or something. And so if we can nourish our endocannabinoid system, we help to support all of our vital functions and systems everywhere else. CBD is one of the most bioavailable, bio-optimal ways to help nourish our endocannabinoid system. Because the receptors are located everywhere, different delivery methods can be targeted to whatever the outcome or the goal, the desired outcome is. So if you are ingesting CBD, so that can be drops, gummies, things like that, you're working on a more systemic level. So you're working to support perhaps widespread pain, mood support, certainly sleep. If you're using a balm or something topical in like a massage oil, you're really working in a more kind of localized surface area approach. So aches, pains, muscle tension, inflamed joints, which I have inherited my mum's wonderful arthritis, so I am already on a really strong protocol. And although I have knobbly knuckles, I feel absolutely no pain. So it's doing a good job there.
That's really good.
Yeah. Terrible. The patches are another brilliant delivery method because you're getting the actives in via the skin, which, as we know, our skin is our biggest organ. It's so brilliant at absorbing stuff. The patch delivery method is also really, really convenient for people who can't ingest it for whatever reason. Perhaps they've been told by their doctor that the drops would negatively interact with something that are different, perhaps medications or protocols that they're on, whereas the patches do not need to be metabolized by the liver. They don't need to go around the digestive system. It's just absorbed via the skin. So you really can find something to suit everybody. Because they are all different delivery methods as well, it is completely safe to mix and match and layer and use these different delivery methods all at the same time, and that's sort of frequently what I tend to do, actually. The other 2 slightly newer discoveries as to how CBD works and is beneficial for us is it helps to boost the body's natural production of anandamide, which is our feel-good molecule. and is Sanskrit word for bliss, and it's also present
Oh,
in mother's breast milk, for example. The other thing, there's some really interesting studies out there to show regular use of ingestible CBD actually helps to reduce your baseline cortisol, which is obviously your stress response. So you kind of add all these things up, it kind of gives you a broader picture of how CBD can be beneficial to us, and also helps explain why consistent use really is best. You've got to look at it as like a supplement, or any other health regime, like doing yoga or going for a jog or taking vitamin D. All of those things are wonderful, but if you just do them like once a week or something, it's not going to give you the desired outcome. Whereas if you work with CBD on a regular basis, as with any other supplements, you're going to get the kind of the most beneficial results.
right. Well, that has taught me lots already, but actually, I'm going to now take it more regularly because I have been one of those ad hoc users, like you say, once a week or here and there. But actually, I didn't realize there
Yeah.
were long-term benefits.
Yeah, and it is accumulative as well, and also it's the sort of just the overall kind of immune boosting and preventative of any consistent health regime. You will get much better results if you're doing it on a regular basis. Actually, if some people actually say to me, I'm so bad at, I buy all this stuff and then I do it once or twice and it sits there, and they're like, we need some sort of like hard proof. Everyone's about data now, aren't they? Like we just to keep us motivated to use it all the time. One of my favorite things to say is, particularly in relation to sleep, if you're using drops and the sleep patches, for example, either together or alone, is to if you have a sleep tracking, sleep app for tracking your sleep data, do it for a few nights in a row, and you'll see how in many cases, and hopefully for you too, that the sleep performance is really, really enhanced. And I think once people see that like hard data in front of them, like, okay, yeah, I need to do this on a regular basis. And just how you feel, if you for example, I know with my joints, if I stop using a high strength balm, then I do start to feel like slight discomfort pretty quickly, whereas if I use it on a regular basis, it just keeps it at bay. So
That's really cool. I'd never thought about using your own tracking apps to look at your sleep and sort of,
yeah,
like you say, do it for 4 or 5 days and watch that data. I mean, I've really,
do it whilst you're not wearing them, and then do it for
yeah.
normally with anything internal that you're ingesting, it's normally around 2 weeks of consistent use before you want to judge how it's making you feel, or if you want to go up or down in terms of strength. But with the sleep patches are like phenomenal. I mean, people within the first couple of nights are having improved sleep performance.
That's incredible. And I like the fact that you're relating it to people as well, because I think sometimes you look at a stat and you think, do I fall into that data? Whereas if you're, like you say, you track yourself before
Doing
and
it yourself,
watch it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so much about what we're doing, is about making things accessible, and so people feeling empowered about their own well-being. There's I'm not in any way anti-pharmaceutical. I'm so grateful for like medical advances, and it's why we're all now living beyond, decades beyond what our cave men and women
Yeah.
ancestors did, because we have proper medical assistance when we need it, and we have proper sterilization and hygiene and everything in place. But for the everyday stuff, I just find, and so many people do find, pharmaceuticals for every single day, just create unwanted side effects, and they have knock-on effects elsewhere. And so, the great thing about CBD is that the World Health Organization has classified it as having what they class as an excellent safety profile, which means little to no side effects, so that it's safer to take every day than taking loads of painkillers, which is obviously, we know, terrible for your microbiome, for your stomach, and yeah,
Yeah. No,
but just a more holistic.
I love it. And actually, I'm going to recommend the balm for my mum because she takes medication for rheumatoid arthritis, then has to take
Right.
some other medication to stop the other medication from upsetting her stomach. And like you say, it's medication is great and there's a time and a place, but actually, I think people are reverting back to seeing what nature can deliver instead. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
it's wisdom that's like thousands of years old. I mean, Pedram's mum and Matt's dad now no longer need opioid based pain relief for their serious physical injuries. I mean, Pedram's mum, bless her, had a terrible boat accident, had her spine rebuilt. Pedram's dad's got quite a Matt's dad has got quite a rare neurological disorder where he gets terrible pain, and they now use our products every single day, and they're not actually needing, it's what's worked for them.
Wow.
So there is sort of other options out there under the guidance of whoever you're working with, as a medical professional. But the great thing, because they are side effect free, there's no reason why you can't do these things alongside, as long as your doctor says it's okay. So there's kind of nothing to lose apart from trying it, and then lots of people find they can then wind down or at least lessen some of the other stuff.
Yeah. There we go. Shall I?
Next one.
Scroll? I could have
Yeah,
carried on chatting for ages there. That's why I thought, well, I'll slowly scroll.
it's flawless. It's seamless. I love it. You're an expert scroller. So this is just a little bit about us as opposed to CBD in general, but I think it's important to put in, based on one of the key points you said earlier, it's really hard to know what is and isn't a reputable brand in this space, because there is such a kind of mass of products, and you can search anywhere online and buy stuff, and the prices can vary so much. And there are a few sort of key things to look out for, and one of the things that we're sort of most proud of, and that is perhaps one of the best stamps of quality, I suppose, is this one here. It's the Medical Cannabis Clinicians Society. So we're the only kind of premium UK wellness brand that has been awarded what they call their stamp of excellence. And what that means is that they've gone through our website to check that our guidelines are correct and responsible. And then they've tested our products to check that the quality is as we say it is, and it's consistent. And I think whether people use our products or whether they look for something else, trying to find those kind of trust signals are really, really important in this space, particularly because, exactly as we're saying, you don't want to unknowingly take something that hasn't had the THC properly removed, or you certainly wouldn't want to stock that in a professional setting or sell it on to a guest, or so it's really important to check lab reports, credentials of a brand, and a decent brand would always quite willingly have those things, either to email directly or just to have them on the website already there for people to find themselves.
Yeah, I think if you're accredited, you're always proud of it, aren't you? It should be there and clearly sort of shared with everyone.
Yeah. And as a result, we have some of our beautiful partners. I actually need to add some more on there, so I'm really sorry to the few that I haven't had a chance to add on yet. But I find that the spa world is really, even since we've joined it, I speak to people who's been working in this space for decades, and I've only been with our products in some of the world's most beautiful spas for the last 5 years. So I appreciate we're still earning our stripes and we're still relatively new. But I feel like even in the time that we've been working with these amazing spas, particularly within hotels and luxury resorts, even the awareness around wanting to shift treatment menus to more wellness goal orientated, and things to be more science backed and more high tech, has been really interesting and amazing. So I feel like it's just such a kind of interesting and growing space, and I feel like the knowledge of or the kind of the thirst for knowledge among the spa directors that we deal with just been amazing. We get into the real in-depth conversations now, and people are asking me to share if I read any interesting studies. They want to read, that they want me to share, and I find that's really, really cool, because I feel like the due diligence of the partners that we have has just been brilliant, and it's really allowed us to delve deep into really expanding what our offering is for spa. It's really cool. We're really enjoying this side of things.
Yeah, I think we've gone from spas that have a massage to spas that have more than a massage, and guests want to know, and the spa wants to be able to tell them what is the benefit of that treatment. We're much more benefit led rather than just treatment led.
Yeah, absolutely, very much so. So this is more. I can send this out afterwards if anyone wants to read it. But this is the over the last 6 years, I would say that the front of house, at particularly at the spa desks and the spa directors and the therapists, who are obviously on the front line, this is the 6 most commonly asked questions that, regardless of what partners we work with in whatever country or region, whether it's the UK, Europe, or beyond, these are the same things that get asked time and time again. And they're really, really helpful when informing, excuse me, not just treatments, but also which products to recommend at retail or to upsell or lifestyle recommendations. And interestingly, the questions are still almost always around safety. So people wanting to know, will it get me high? What's in it? And also just the bare bones of, what is it for? Why do I need it? And it always comes back to the key wellness kind of ailments and goals as to why people are taking it, which, as we know, is sleep, stress, and pain. That's kind of the overarching questions and needs. And the other thing people always ask is, are all CBD products made equal? Which obviously, as we know, they're not. And just the things to look out for. So that's always just like a really useful one I pop in, because even if you came armed with those 6 questions, I feel like that would carry people through when starting to work with CBD, particularly in a professional setting. And then our purpose, our sustainability manifesto is something that's always been really, really important to us, but it's something that is really relevant to this conversation, even just at a kind of top line level, because what's been the other thing that's been really encouraging about the lovely partners that we work with and continue to bring on board as brand partners is the kind of the checks and balances towards sustainability remits has become more and more of a priority, and that's something that's really wonderful. That's like music to our ears. So, you know, we don't have plastic, we have glass and aluminium, which can obviously be like infinitely recycled. All of our raw ingredients are biodegradable, so we don't use, you know, irradiated pigments of any kind or things that just wash down the sink in the waterways and become like a horrible sludge in the ocean, which is obviously a massive issue. And the other reason why it's particularly relevant to have really clean products when we're talking about CBD, both for corporate partners but also just for personal use, is that the hemp plant is a bioaccumulator, which means it will soak up anything it's in soil, its immediate environment. So if you're using a product that is not from a clean environment, not organically grown, the raw materials are not organically grown, there's every possible chance that hemp plant that you're extracting your raw materials from has sucked up the pesticides and herbicides or whatever chemicals is in the soil and environment, which is the last thing you want, particularly if you're taking CBD from a health angle or from an anxiety angle. If you have a product that has pesticides or heavy metals in it, has the exact opposite outcome than what you're kind of working towards. So the sustainability for us really also ties into the clean product formulas and how that is kind of all intrinsically linked. So everything that we do, we try to leave as little trace as possible in terms of our manufacturing processes and the raw materials and what the outcome then is.
That's incredible. You have to think about these things, don't you? What the plant takes in from the ground is what's contained within it. So it's important that that's considered.
Yeah, and that really comes from the formulation side and the plant science side, and really understanding it, taking all those steps back and getting to that level. And I think that's why these kind of white labeled brands that aren't from a white labeled products, I should say, that aren't from a brand that just has a random label stuck on you, it's just not with a product of this nature, it's just not worth it. It needs to come from a specialist base. There's just some reviews that doesn't need to go through that. And then finally, what makes KLORIS different, just the last couple of slides, just a really quick recap. So as I say, we have a really strong focus on education, which I think is really crucial for any type of CBD product. We're partnered with some of the most beautiful resorts worldwide. Our patches in particular have won innovation awards. The sleep patches won the Wellness Game Changer for the Sunday Times Style a couple of years ago, which was great. We only source organically grown CBD.
Kim, that has been so insightful because I think it just kind of makes it easier for people to understand what CBD is. And as I said, even during then, like I've learned that I need to be more consistent in the way that I use it and not use it ad hoc. I guess my next question, because I do have a selection of products and I'm using them ad hoc, is what is the difference in the strengths of CBD in
Mm.
your products? And can you go straight to a high strength patch?
Yeah, so the question around strength is really interesting. Um, and it isn't always just about the strength, it's about the quality of the product. So, for example, if we're talking about an ingestible product, just having the isolate CBD, which is just the CBD extracted and all of the other minor cannabinoids removed, even if it was super strong, it still would not. It would be an inferior product compared to a good quality broad spectrum or full spectrum product. The terms are still slightly. There's no sort of legal term of what that means in the UK, but full spectrum is essentially all of the cannabinoids. Broad spectrum is all of the cannabinoids, but THC and CBN removed, which are the psychoactive or the psychotropic ones, which can be intoxicating. Isolate is just the pure CBD on its own. So you want to kind of go for a well-rounded broad spectrum product, which is fully compliant in the UK, but it has all of the other minor cannabinoids to give a real synergistic and well-rounded outcome. You can start on the high strength if you want to. What we always say is, because everyone is different, you should start low anyway and then build
Mm.
up, simply so that over the course of a couple of weeks you can judge and gauge what doses work for you, because
Mhm.
actually there isn't any more benefit from taking way more or much higher doses if you find that your sort of sweet spot is lower down the scale anyway. All you're
Yeah.
doing is spending more money that you don't need to. There isn't automatically a greater benefit, and actually your body will use what it needs and just expel the rest. So there's kind of no need to just go straight in. With the patches, we do also there are sliding scales of patches available, and that really depends on, I guess, how serious the issue is that you're trying to address.
Hmm.
If someone has a very serious injury, for example, or extreme chronic pain, then they might find that they need the stronger stuff anyway. But we say that always just start low and build up, and you only really need to give yourself a week or two of doing that anyway.
Okay.
To
And
really
then, so
see.
with the different products, if you are obviously starting and you're working your way up, say you're using a patch for sleep, and then you want to use some of the balm on a an achy arm or hand or something, can you layer them? So have a gummy, put a
Mm.
patch on, and use the body oil.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, because they're all different delivery methods, so that's absolutely fine, and that's quite often what people find they get what they have the best results with is when they are using the different types of products, because if you're ingesting it, it's more systemic. If you're working with a balm or something topical, it's more localized, and so you can absolutely do that. That's
Perfect. Perfect. So off I go this evening.
I want to see you put that patch on. Have your
I'll be
balm, have your
layering.
salts, your bath.
Um, how does the range, I mean, you briefly touched on it in your presentation, but how does the range sit along other spa product ranges? Are there examples you can give, or what's the kind of a
Mm.
good scenario for a
Yeah.
spa that wants to add in some of the Chloris treatments?
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, we pair beautifully with really, really high-end skincare brands, because we're not a skincare brand. We don't do facials um, or any kind of specialist skincare, facial skincare SKUs. We focus on the mind and the body. We focus specifically, as I said, on treatments and products for sleep, stress, and pain. And so we kind of miss out the face. So we get paired really beautifully with gorgeous high-end skincare brands. Some that are more focused on natural ingredients like we are, or some that are perhaps more high-tech and sciencey
Mhm.
and more clinical. We kind of have an equal pairing of both.
So you have a face
This
oil.
is
So if someone wanted to do sort of a sleep treatment, you have a face oil that you then add into in that case, that's just the one SKU that you have that's sort of a facial product. Is that what I
Absolutely,
understood?
and yeah, exactly, and that's purely because in some of our treatments there is a really gorgeous lymphatic drainage facial massage. We have these really gorgeous white jade gua sha, and it's
Mm.
more about setting the overall scene for a lovely night's sleep, or if we're doing one of our treatments that's really about calming the nervous system, it's just working with all the lovely points around the face and the head and the neck. So that's why we ended up designing that the face oil, and because it does have CBD in and it's so calming, and it has cucumber and squalane, it's great from an anti-redness perspective, which obviously CBD is wonderfully calming and soothing, so it just kind of fitted really well. But yeah, no, we're not in any way in any competition with any kind of skincare brand, so we kind of sit side by side really nicely.
Yeah, it's been really nice when you've been saying that, actually, how like it's a brand in its own right, isn't it? And then the others, you have the more technical skincare that you can then pair really nicely with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Kim, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I've learnt lots, and I'm sure anyone watching the webinar will have learnt lots as well. And I will take the slide deck and share that as well. I'll put that in the community because I think it's nice for people to refer back. And if you do have any science papers or anything like that, I think there is that thirst, I think, at the moment for people looking for information and data. And I think the more people understand CBD and understand the safety, as you were saying, and you can drive on it and layering and things,
Mm.
the more accessible it becomes. You know, whether someone needs it for themselves or wants to use it in their spa, just having that data is really super helpful, please.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For any follow up things, please just let me know. And always happy to help. And thank you for having me. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, and you too. Thank you so much. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye, Sarah.